Hey guys, welcome back to the 7th week of the 2nd season of our Pokemon Draft League. This is Ian, coach of the Mahogany Town Mews, and today I will be battling Brenden of the Cinnabar Island Cyndaquils. Brenden has a really scary team. I know because two of my best Pokemon from last season are on it, and I know exactly what they can do, and together they're pretty terrifying. So let's just get right into it. I have a lot to talk about and a lot of interesting sets that I need to go over. So here Brenden leads off with his Big Mama, the Blissey. It's a pretty good lead because I have a lot of special attackers that I like to use pretty early, and I do even throw out my Azelf here, Buddy the Azelf, what's your favorite color? Specifically because of this Blissey, I do run him physical this week, and luckily on my Zed Headbutt I do get a flinch on the very first turn, so already looking to be a pretty haxy game. I switch out because I am choiced. Otherwise I would have just U-turned, but I switch specifically into Crocodile because I'd like to knock off this thing's leftovers if possible, and just being a physical attacker in general, I know he's not going to want to stay in, so even if he does switch out, I can knock something off. And on my switch he does throw out the Stealth Rocks, which is not the worst thing. I don't have any clearers this week, but it is going to take its toll a little bit going down the line. So he brings in his Roadkill, the oh my god, I always forget this thing's name. Mandibuzz, and I knock off its leftovers. It doesn't do much damage because he's also Dark type. So I'm just going to switch out into my Justice Goat here. I'm not going to take pretty much anything from Stealth Rocks, and I was actually hoping that he was going to go for like a Foul Play so that I'd get the Justified attack boost, but he actually goes for Toxic, which I'm immune to, so I guess that works out in the end anyway. So I decided to set up my own Stealth Rocks, once again just kind of hoping that maybe he'll go for a knockoff or a Foul Play. But he does go for the U-turn, which does 4 damage, and goes right back into his team. So on the switch, he's going to bring out his 9-9, the Arcanine. It's pretty cool shiny, but it does take a lot of damage from the Stealth Rocks on his side. But he does intimidate my Justice Goat, the Cobalion, which kind of sucks. I can't really do anything to this Arcanine anyway, and fearing the Flare Blitz, I am just going to switch out here. I'm going to switch out into my Quillfish, There Is No God, try to get the Intimidate off, and I'll resist the Flare Blitz if that is coming. Even if he does predict it and go for the Wild Charge, I know it's not going to do much more than half, in which case I can just switch out again. But I barely take even 1/8 of my HP, and unfortunately he does get the burn on the the Flare Blitz, which kind of sucks. It limits the time that my Quillfish can be in here, because he actually probably could have taken maybe 1 or even 2 more attacks without that burn damage. But the Flare Blitz is going to knock him down with Recoil, and he's going to hit my Rocky Helmet, so that's going to take him down quite a bit off that one hit. And then going for the Wild Charge is just going to happen again as I set up the Toxic Spikes. I could have gone for, I think I had a physical set, so Liquidation or something this week. But with the burn, it's not going to do that much damage, and I'd rather just get up the hazards so that I can poison whatever he brings in. This week I do prioritize just 1 layer of hazards, Toxic Spikes specifically, because he's going to be doing a lot of switching, so overall the damage is going to be more if I have the 1 layer than the 2 layers. So I bring in my Crocodile here, get off another Intimidate, and because I think he's going to go for another Wild Charge, which he does. So now my 2 Intimidates have brought it down to -2, which means even if he has like a close combat or something, I'm going to be able to take it pretty well. As I go for the Stone Edge, either assuming that he's going to stay in and go for the close combat, or bring in his Mandibuzz to try and be immune to the Earthquake. And thankfully he does bring in the Mandibuzz, which is 1-hit KO'd by my Stone Edge, as I am Choice Banded this week, and he is terrifying with the Choice Band. So in response to the KO, he brings in his Strider, the Baller Shiny Greninja, and it does get poisoned by the Toxic Spikes, and I'm going to have to switch out because he's going to be able to outspeed me and KO me with pretty much any move he has. He does go for the Water Shuriken, which turns him into a pure Water type, which is actually important. And he does end up hitting me 5 times here, which sucks, with the second hit actually being a crit, which is awful for me. but thankfully the lucky 5 hits and the crit don't matter because I do survive. Kind of evens out in the end there. And actually Brenden messaged me right after saying that he forgot to use the Water Shuriken again for the priority. So my Zen Headbutt does connect here and do enough damage to take it out with a crit. I'm not sure if my crit mattered, but even if it did, we're even now. We both crit, and he forgot, which meant that I got to survive. But he brings out his Kartana here, which is one of the main problems I had team building this week against. And I know he can KO my Azelf and probably outspeed as well. So I bring in my Quillfish here just to get the Intimidate and maybe to survive a Sacred Sword. I don't think I can, but it is resisted and he's at -1. But it does end up KOing me, and he gets the Beast Boost, so he's back at just neutral attack. So in the end, it's not that bad. I get a free switch. So I bring out my double AJ, the Zapdos, and I know I can survive any attack he has at no attack plus. So it does force him out, as I can scare him out with a Heat Wave, and even if he did hit me, he might actually get paralyzed with my static. But he brings in his Big Mama here. It's a good idea. I can only special attack, really. And I actually do miss the Heat Wave, which sucks. But Blissey does end up getting poisoned, which isn't the worst thing for him, because he is going to take damage, but I can't really do any damage in return. And if he switches out, his Natural Cure is just going to take the poison away anyway. So assuming he's either going to switch or hit me with like a Seismic Toss, I go for the Tailwind, kind of hoping that he would switch so I'd get the free Tailwind up and wouldn't waste any turns if he brought in something faster. But he ends up staying in and going for the Seismic Toss. He's already poisoned, so he can't be paralyzed, so it's just free 50 damage for him. After my leftovers, I am going to survive 2 more for sure. So I decided to just stay in, go for the Discharge. He ends up going for the Thunder Wave, probably predicting me to switch out into somebody, knowing that I can't really do anything to this guy. But I know that if I just stay in and keep discharging, he's going to have to either recover soon or die. So in either way, that's good for me. So I switch out, assuming that he's going to use a Soft Boiled this turn. I'm just going to go back into my Crocodile K-Ruladile. Once again, just trying to knock this thing off or hit it with any kind of physical attack at all. As I was right, he does go for the Soft Boiled, knowing that he can't take another Discharge and Poison turn. So I get the free switch in with the Stealth Rock damage, as he does go up to almost full. I think he's at maybe 3/4 HP. And he is going to switch out. I just went for the Earthquake, as he has no more Levitators or Flying types on his team. And I do have the knockoff, but I think I would rather just hit it with the Earthquake. It's going to do more damage overall over time. Plus, I don't want to lose my, well, I guess the ability doesn't matter from the Cofagrigus here. But he does end up bringing in the Cofagrigus, his High 5 Ghost, which gets poisoned and then gets hit by my Earthquake, which brings it into range to KO with another Earthquake. So thankfully, this thing didn't just wall my physical attackers completely, as it can do pretty easily, actually, with a Will-O-Wisp a lot of the time. He brings back out his 9/9 here. It's taking a lot of damage from Stealth Rocks, which is nice, and it actually gets poisoned for the first time. But he is going to get the Intimidate off of my Crocodile again, which is not the best thing for me, as I am just going to switch out into the Zapdos again. I know Zapdos is able to take pretty much anything this guy can throw at me, but he actually goes for the Will-O-Wisp, which misses, which you'll see down the line will be actually pretty important. As we both recover up with our leftovers, he takes some poison damage. I was assuming that even if he did go for like the Wild Charge or the Flare Blitz, I'd be able to take it out with the recoil. But he starts going for Extreme Speeds, which kind of sucks. He's poisoned, so he's not going to be paralyzed from my static, and Extreme Speed's actually going to outspeed me no matter what, even with the Tailwind. But I do set up the Tailwind, hoping that I can bring in Manaphy later to still outspeed while I boost my speed with the Z Rain Dance. But he does go for another Extreme Speed here, and I actually survive with 1 HP, which is amazing. And I go for a Discharge, which is going to take out the Arcanine. So that thing was a pretty big player for me to take out for the mana fee, because I know I can't really take a wild charge at all. And he's going to bring out his Kartana here, got a sweep, which I can probably take out with the Heat Wave, but he is going to outspeed me for sure, and he's going to knock off my leftovers, killing me. But that gives me a free turn to come in and bring in my mana fee, and with the Tailwind having one more turn, I'm going to outspeed even if he is Choice Scarfed, as Tailwind doubles my speed instead of just adding 1.5. So I know that an Ice Beam at this HP is going to take it out, even though it is neutral with the Steel typing, because his special defenses suck balls. And my Tailwind peters out. Thankfully it was there for that last turn. He brings in his Blissey, last Pokemon, gets poisoned again. And because it is the one layer of Toxic Spikes, he's actually going to be able to soft-boiled it off if he's in here for long enough. But he starts going for Seismic Tosses, just trying to take me out, do as much damage before it goes down. As he takes some poison damage and gets some leftovers, and I go for the Tail Glow. And I could have gone for Z Rain Dance, just kind of pad my Manaphy's stats for a little bit. But I was actually really worried that a Z Rain Dance and two more, or a Z Rain Dance plus one more attack wouldn't actually be enough. So I end up just opting for the Z Surf in the end. And at +3, it is actually still barely going to be enough to take this thing out because Blissey's insane. But it does manage to take it out, and that is going to be the end of the game there. I believe it was 6-2... Let's see, I lost Quillfish and Zapdos. So yeah, 6-2. It was a lot closer than it seemed. If his Kartana was able to outspeed without the Tailwind, I might not have been able to take it out after that. I'm not sure. I know Buddy the Azelf, what's your favorite color, couldn't have come in and hit it with a Flamethrower because he was at 4 HP with the Stealth Rocks. I had no way to get rid of those. I could have one-hit KO'd my Crocodile with anything he had. I think a Secret Sword would take out my Cobalion too, and obviously Leaf Blade would take out the Manaphy. So in the end, it came down to probably that one turn with Tailwind. So thankfully, I did get to get that off and sweep it up with my Manaphy as is planned, a little squishy. So in the end, it was a really good battle, and just like a lot of times, it doesn't come down to the KO spreads. It was way closer than you'd think 6-2 would be. But yeah, can't wait to hopefully play him again towards the playoffs. I think we have hit our midpoint in the season just now, as we just had our mid-season mixer. It was a whole lot of fun. Thank you, Dan, for hosting, and everybody for showing up and bringing food and things. It was really fun, and I think it got a lot of people re-energized into the league where morale was kind of down because 7 weeks of battling can take a toll on people, especially time-wise. So hopefully everybody's into it again, and I know I'm pumped for the rest of the season, and I can't wait for my battle next week against Casey, and after that I believe I battle Nick, our commissioner? I'm not totally sure about that, but either way, it's going to be a fun time, so keep on watching, and I'll see you next time.